Assumption is the lowest form of intelligence. I've said this over and over and over again, and I'm not tired of writing it as well. If you go to my blog page on akiakinbogun.com, you'd find a post dedicated to making wrong assumptions. A lot of relationships on earth, our friends, families, spouses have been damaged because of wrong assumptions. Not just making assumptions, but acting on wrong assumptions. And I'll tell you more in this video. So assumptions are the foundations for which conclusions and interpretations are made. We make assumptions because they are an efficient way to process our world. Now, but the interesting thing is that sometimes assumptions come from the place of lack of communication. One of the best ways to not get into the snare and the trap of assuming and acting on it is to ask questions. And I think one of the biggest problems that the generation that we have now are having is that we're not communicating in the traditional way that we've always known. Typically, communication for us has gone almost literally silent because it goes into our mobile phones or technical devices that we have. And so we are not really communicating. And so what happens in a sense is we make assumptions about some other person's intentions or actions without necessarily asking to confirm if those things are correct or not. And this isn't much of a problem, right? Think about it, until you act on it. Now, I could assume that, someone's done something wrong, or someone's done something to offend me, or that is displeasing, and I think that that person may have done it on purpose. So I'm going to give you an example of someone who's assumed wrongly and perhaps even acted on it. For instance, you're supposed to meet up with a friend and you'd agreed days before or earlier that you were going to meet up at a certain place at a certain time. And a couple of minutes to the time, you're there and you're waiting up for your friend, and time comes and the person doesn't show up. And then you pick up the phone and call them several times, hello, 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 hello. And the guy doesn't answer his calls. The calls are unreturned. And then you get really upset, and without the benefit of doubt, you leave the place, based on the assumption that the guy isn't turning up again. That's a classic example. But the problem here is the guy could have had his phone missing, stolen, or the guy could even be in danger, could have been kidnapped along the road, or could be hurt. You have no basis for taking that action. So the point is, you can have assumptions, thinking about what the guy's, why the guy hasn't turned up. But when you suddenly act on your assumption, which is based on very old information based on past experiences, say for instance, the guy has done it before, or certain things like that, and you take that assumption, but act on it by leaving that environment, then you create an imbroglio, you damage friendships, you lose trust, loyalty. And so it is always good to ask questions. So the solution here is to always hold out until you have all the facts. Why do they say jumping into assumptions? Because you literally have to skip steps. When you don't have enough information, you connect dots. And eventually, if you don't have enough dots to connect, you start jumping. And when you jump into wrong assumptions, you damage relationships. So the whole conversation here today is about not making assumptions that are very false or wrong or based on old or false information, but always acting on the right information, which you can only get by asking. That's the only solution to it. Ask, get facts, and then take a decision. From today on, expect that you consider your thoughts, stop damaging your relationships, stop assuming stuff based on information that you barely even have. Stop assuming that it's not coming. Stop assuming it's breaking up with you. Stop assuming that you're going to lose your job unless you have enough facts to justify it, and then act on the facts. Thank you.